Hello people, hope you're all doing really well today. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 things that you're going to want to do to write the perfect description for your products and books on the Amazon marketplace. And you're going to want to stay to the end because I've got a little extra bonus tip for you that's really helped me write my product descriptions. So be sure to stay to the end. Welcome to another video from myself. If you're new here, then welcome to my channel. My name is Ben. I like to bring out videos on my self-publishing journey and all the hints, tips and tricks that follow. So if this may be interesting to you, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I bring out new videos. And of course, if you're serious about self-publishing, then join my community of self-publishers where we all have the mutual goal of trying to find success through publishing online. So if you haven't done so already, hit the Facebook group, join the Facebook group rather, and also be sure to check out the Residual Royalty Academy free course if you're just getting started with KDP. And if you hit the link in the description below for the accelerator course, it should be discounted by 20%. This is the course that me and so many other people have taken to get to where we are today. It's a really invaluable course, so if you haven't checked it out already, then be sure to check this out as well. There's some really nice results in there. But guys, really without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So what are the 5 things that I would do to make my low and no content book descriptions stand out? Of course, without it taking a lot of time on your part as well. Now, just a word of advice, I released a video prior to this one about how to format your descriptions. Now, if you're new to descriptions, you don't have a good idea of how to format them, or you haven't watched the previous video, then I would recommend watching that before I'd watch this, because I do talk about terms in this that you'd understand through that video. But yeah, guys, without further ado, let's go into these 5 things. Now, just a bit of base knowledge before I do go into these. So product descriptions actually account towards metadata that is used by Amazon for determining the relevancy to a keyword search. So essentially, if a customer types in something into the search bar at the top and they're looking for a product, Amazon can go through the description to see whether or not that the keywords match up with what they're looking for. So obviously there's titles, subtitles and keywords, but descriptions are actually also used in that, as well as author names and things like that. So that's one thing to bear in mind when writing your descriptions. The second thing to bear in mind is that if the customer sees the description of your product, then just know that they're already interested or curious, because if they're viewing your description, then they've already clicked on your product. And if you've clicked on your product, there's a level of interest from the customer about buying your products. So the main aim of the description is to then convert this customer, this curious or interested customer, into buying your product. And these 5 things are going to help you do exactly that. So first, you want to qualify the customer in your description. So there's 5 things you want to do. The first one is qualify the customer. So to qualify the customer, we're going to ask a question that sounds like it's targeted at the customer, but in reality, we already know this about the customer. Now, if you can see the question that I've written here, and we're going to format it in this sense as well, so it's going to be huge letters. So it's going to be the first thing they see when they click on your products, right? Because it's so bold. And essentially it says, are you looking for the ideal stress relief coloring book? And that's quite targeted by the sounds of it. But in actuality, we already know this about the customer, because if you can see, if we pretend that this is our book, we've already designed the book that says adult coloring book, stress relieving animal designs. So we know if the customer clicks on our products, they're going to be interested in all of the aspects of that book or part of the aspects of that book, and they're looking for more information. They might be interested in the coloring book aspect of it or the stress relieving aspect of it. But either way, we've captured both of that in this question. So in theory, they should say yes, and they should scroll down and read more of the description if they side with this question. It's going to make them feel like we and them are on the same page. And in that sense, it sort of builds, a feeling of mutuality. if that's a word, a mutual feeling between us. So if we scroll down, number 2 is going to be adding a concise summary and cliffhanger. Now, what I mean by that is, obviously, if you look in this description bit here, there's this read more section here. Now, what it displays originally is only a small snippet of what your whole description could be, right? Because there's only a certain amount of space. And obviously, with the qualifying question taking up quite a lot, because you're going to have that at a large font size, then you want this bit to be super concise. You want a super concise summary with a major point being that it adds onto something that the customer didn't know already about your product. These are the best summaries, or the ones that I've found most successful in my publishing journey anyway. So if you look at this book, for example, nowhere does it mention that it has 100 coloring pages inside. Obviously, this is just for example purposes, so it might not have 100 coloring pages, but I've put it here for example purposes. But what this summary essentially says is that there's 100 coloring pages inside, which wasn't in the title or in the picture. So it's adding something to the knowledge base of your product that the customer can see. And then it doesn't add too much as well. So the customer may either still be curious to then read more, or they know enough about your product now because they found out more just by looking at the description to make an informed decision as to whether they want to buy it or not. But here's the cliffhanger. If you read it, with an assortment of over 100 coloring pages for kids and adults, here's what you'll find inside. And they have to press this read more to see what you'll find inside, which is a really, really good way to get them to read more and spend more time on your product. And that leads us on to the third section, and probably the most important section as well, which is the bullet points that address the issues with your competitors and explain why your book is better. And you'd want at least 5 of these. Now, just obviously as a bit of context, right? Your customer is super interested at this point, remember, because not only have they clicked on your product, they've now clicked on read more, right? So this means that they're super interested, but also they haven't found enough information in the top bit to make an informed decision as to whether they want to buy your book or not. So what we want to do with this bullet point section is obviously we want to address any objections that your customer may have. And obviously in this, it's sort of a sales pitch, right? So we want to make sure that we cover all the bases of the book. So we might answer a question that a customer may have in their mind. And we also want to pitch them and close the customer. Now, if we go on bullet points, right? So your customers clicked on this section here. They want to find an answer to a question. Now, for this coloring book, for example, they might have had a previously bad experience with other coloring books where the resolution has been low. So one of the things that you may put in yours, having done research as to where the competitors have experienced shortcomings, maybe by looking at their 1-star reviews, for example, you may have found that they have been using low resolution coloring pages. So in your bullet point, maybe one of your points would say high resolution coloring pages, as this would address the issue of low resolution coloring pages from your competitors, and may also answer the question that your customer has been looking for, and now they've got enough information to make an informed decision as to whether they want to purchase the book or not, right? So this is what we're going to do for the bullet points. Now obviously it's a bit easier with low content like coloring books and activity books, but where you're just publishing a notebook, then try and fill this out as best as you can. It doesn't have to have 5 bullet points for a notebook, but try and fill it out with common questions or shortcomings that your competitors in your niche may have for notebooks. If you're going to put the size, for example, so you've published a 6x9 inch notebook, then try and say why that's a good thing and why your customers should buy your book based on its size. For example, a 6x9 inch notebook would fit very well in the customer's handbag. So if you've got a travel diary, for example, then this is definitely a selling point to your book. So that's one of the advices that I would give someone publishing in no content. But try and fill out the 5 bullet points with common objections that your customer may have. And to do this, just research your competitors, research their shortcomings, and address this in your description. And also try and sell as much as you can in those bullet points. So number 4 is going to be your close and call to action. Now this is very, very important, as your customer's interest, you piqued their interest. If they're still on the description page, they've read to the bottom without clicking buy or add to cart, then you probably just need to prod them along. I mean, they're interested enough to buy your product. Now all you need to do is close them, make them choose, make them have a final decision. In this example, I've written ready to join our other happy customers. This is quite clever because it's then saying that customers have been happy with our purchase from our book, and there's an element of fear of missing out in there as well, which means that they're going to be missing out if they don't buy the book. Out from happiness generally, I suppose, along those lines. But generally the point of this is that you're getting them to make a decision. And if they decide to buy the book, then you're basically guiding them to the add to basket section or add to cart by saying, then get your copy now by clicking add to basket. So that last bit there's the call to action. This is the close with the question. The close is always going to be a question, guys. It gets them to say yes or no, and it's really going to be a decision maker for them. So that's quite an essential. We're going to have that as well in like bold and a larger font size as well. But yeah, number 5 is finally the formatting. So I've been going through the formatting as we've been going through, but here's a list of the tags that I would use for each one. Again, this is only going to really make sense if you understand HTML or you've watched my previous video. But yeah, use these tags. This is going to lay it out in the way that I've been explaining, and all in all, your product description is going to look something beautiful like this. So you can see that we've got our qualifier. So this is the question right at the start. Obviously you're only going to see these first 2 sections unless they press read more. So you've got our short summary and cliffhanger here. We've got at least 5 bullet points. This can always be longer, guys. The more bullet points, the better. And this is going to be our close and call to action. Now, you stayed this far, so I'm going to give you a secret number 6. And secret number 6 is essentially that when you're doing the bullet points, just remember that customers are more likely to read the first and last ones in detail. They're more likely to skim through the middle as well, especially if there's a lot of text. So remember to put the most important things about your book on the first and last bullet point of section 3. But guys, that's really it from me. Thanks for watching this video. I hope this is going to be really helpful for you publishing your books or just putting your products up on Amazon. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.